that we're so underrepresented. It's not that we lack the activism. In fact, this was at one point where you're sitting right now, used to be the Manila town, 10 blocks of Manila town. Across the burning is Chinatown. On this side is Manila town. So just to raise the consciousness, we have the Filipino Education Center. I saw it, and it's like one line, but there's a lot of struggle, behind that Filipino Education Center.
Thank you. I have been meaning to ask a question which I think is a variation of what you had to say, really to Grace and maybe historically to Henry. How have you been working with other language minority groups on these issues, both around Lao and about the different ways in which Lao spreads out on other issues?
Sure, I wanted to respond also. So within the Language Access Network that CAA has been working with, we actually supported the Filipino Community Center in a struggle. It was quite a campaign actually to get Tagalog certified as a threshold language that city agencies need to comply with under the Language Access Ordinance. And the Language Access Network has actually been a great opportunity for us because for a long time CAA in the community was seen as the issue area expert on language access, and that was taxing on us because people could see it happening, but they didn't know within which framework to look at language access or how do you problem solve around the issue. And so by collaborating with our community partners, we have actually been able to amplify the community level advocacy support that can happen around language access. And specifically within the invisibility issues of the Filipino community, we are now working with the city to have our Filipino allies in the community partner with the city in training city departments and have some opportunity to develop issues around, particularly the nuanced issues around the assumption that Filipino immigrants can speak English, but that doesn't mean that that's their preferred language, particularly to receive a form about your eligibility for food stamps or affordable housing. And so it has been a good infrastructure for us to work with other communities. And within the Language Access Network, I'll just list off, we have the capacity to reach people in Arabic, Chinese, Spanish, Tagalog, including other Filipino languages, Tigrinya, Amharic, Haitian Creole, and French. So.
I would just quickly add, back in 1975-76, when we challenged local authority, we were in coalition with members of the Latino community because it was those two languages. And there have been other situations where we've always worked in coalition with other linguistic minority groups, whether it's education or health access. Under current law, in terms of what those 21 political jurisdictions in the 10 states must comply with in terms of Section 203, the bilingual election provisions of the Voting Rights Act, various Asian languages are in fact mandated. Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean. They say Filipino, but it's largely Tagalog. I think there's even one Bangladeshi jurisdiction that is covered. And I cannot emphasize that coalition efforts are critical because some of these linguistic minority groups, relative to where they're located, they're small. So it really does take coalition efforts to make sure that local election officials comply with the law. And even though the law is in the book, so to speak, there are still jurisdictions that do not recruit enough poll workers who can speak and provide assistance in that particular language. And even some jurisdictions will not allow an individual to bring his or her own interpreter into the polling booth to provide assistance. And that's allowed under the law, that you can bring an interpreter with you. But some local jurisdictions are not very sympathetic. So it's an ongoing job to monitor compliance with the law.
There was a question back a little further.
Hi, I'm Sophia Chen. I'm from UC Berkeley, and I'm in Chris Shah's Asian American Studies class. And I'd just like to take the time to thank Professor Wong for allowing us to come here. And so my question for the panel is a little bit more broad. One of my closest friends really wants to be a lawyer, but due to financial pressures and cannot pursue law school. So some of my questions will be like, what got you through law school? What motivated you to continue law school, even though you're doing unglamorous work at times? Like what made you want to be a lawyer and do these things? Yeah.
Rachel, you may have to leave the room for this.
I probably had the strangest journey on that.